Hello, Daphne and Kate and Brittany and Ethan and Grayson and Luke and Briley. Hope y'all are all doing well. And hey, this will be over fairly soon, we hope. So listen, I'm praying for y'all. I love each and every one of y'all. Miss you. And we'll be glad when we're back in the classroom. And hopefully that will happen. Just keep praying, keep trusting God. He is bigger than any virus or anything else. So just hang in there. But listen, let me start by saying, hey, if you have any questions, I always like to prop my arm on my leg for some reason. If you have any questions, or your parents have any questions, please email me. You can send a private message through Google Classroom or my email, DLEE, dot MVCA, Mountain View Christian Academy, at gmail.com. dlee at at gmail.com. Yeah. Anyway, you've got it. And send me a message if you have any questions whatsoever. Y'all did great on turning stuff in yesterday, every one of you. And I mentioned that in the comments, but I'm proud of y'all. You did great. And I appreciate parents helping to get that done as well if you had to help. And hey, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. Yes, we are. Okay. World War II, WW2. Let me just say this, that, man, this was a great generation. I had the opportunity, y'all know I've been in ministry for years, and I've known some folks throughout my life. I had an uncle that fought in World War II. He died when I was a teenager. He was older. But I served at a church in Gadsden, Alabama. That there were 4 gentlemen in that church, older fellas that have fought in World War II. And I'm telling you what, some of the sweetest, they've all passed away since then. But some of the toughest, some of the sweetest, some of the just most genuine individuals you'll ever know. And there's something about having been in a war that a lot of times will draw people closer to God. And I think the same is true with this virus. Just hang in there, because this is a time for you not only to, you can get your schoolwork done, but by the same token, you have more time to pray. You have more time to read your Bible. You have more time to memorize Scripture, to study it, and to get closer to God. Because it's during these times when things are uncertain, God's there for us. Listen, God hasn't left us. God hasn't forgotten you. God knows that you're ready to get out of the house, and I'm ready to go eat some Mexican somewhere at a Mexican restaurant and eat some of those chips that they bring out, and have me some fajitas. God knows that. God knows we're stressed. A lot of us are maybe fearful, just worried, not sure what's going on. God cares. And God's there for us. So hang in there. It's all going to be okay. But World War II, you think about 18, 19, and 20-year-old guys, Americans, that eventually will enter the war. They'll sign up. They'll go down to their local recruiting office, and they'll say, I want to fight. I want to be a part of it. And we'll talk about tomorrow why that is, why they were so just adamant about fighting for America. But America at the outset was not involved in World War II, but Germany and Italy started it. And you always, when you have a fight on the playground or something like that, I remember in school we used to have fights on the playground. Thank goodness I've never seen a fight at MVCA. I'm thankful for that. But, the teacher would, well, who started it? Well, so-and-so started it. You always want to know who started it. Well, it was Germany and Italy. Germany started by attacking little countries, small, weak countries in Europe. Italy attacked Ethiopia and Africa. Your book talks about this. We're on page 230, by the way. Let me let you turn there, 230 in your book. And Japan attacked China. So page 230, section 13.2. That's how the war started. And here's the thing. When you see something bad happening, sometimes you need to speak up. And the world sees all of this stuff happening. In fact, you'll see a question a little later on that I'm going to ask you to answer that I normally don't. Hint, hint. But people sat back and they thought, well, so what? That's way over there. That's not going to affect us at all. Who cares? And we see how it ended up. Sometimes you have to speak up and you have to speak out and you have to stand up, especially as a Christian. If something you see is going against Christian values, sometimes you have to just speak up and say, hey, that's not right. That's not right. But anyway, Germany and Italy and Japan started attacking different countries. Japan was part of the cause of the war, too. Now, in 1939, Hitler had taken over Austria and Czechoslovakia, which is always hard to say, Czechoslovakia. And then Hitler said, hey, you need to give us part of your country to Poland. Now, throughout history, Poland has always had a hard time keeping their borders the same. They've always been attacked. And you'll see a map on page 231 where Poland is located. They're right next to Germany. And Germany basically said that this part of Poland actually belonged to Germany and you need to give it back. Well, they said, nope, not going to do it. So both Germany and Italy made an agreement to divide Poland once they had conquered it, and the Germans invaded Poland. And then Italy joins in. And so they said, hey, when we beat them, we'll split it up. You can have part and I can have part. France and Great Britain, who had not fought so far, they've just sat back and watched this stuff happen over there. And you see on the map where they're located. There's France and there's Britain. They finally said, wait a minute, this is wrong. Don't you go into Poland. If you don't withdraw, we're going to go to war with you. Well, they didn't withdraw, and France and France and Britain declared war on Germany. And then you see your book talks about Canada and other Commonwealth nations. In other words, countries that were under the monarchy of Great Britain. And then between 1939 and 1945, 1939 was the kickoff to World War II, so that's the official start date. You see that there in your book. By 3 weeks' time, Poland had been beaten and divided between Germany and Italy. I'm touching my screen because it says low battery, so I'm not touching my nose or anything. April 1940, Germany attacks and defeats Norway and Denmark. Then they defeat Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. And then Germany invades France. Now you would think, France has always been this powerful, powerful nation, and you're thinking, Germany won't beat them. They do. And it shocked the world. Germany defeats Britain. France. So all that's left is Britain with the fall of France. Britain is the only free world power left to defeat Germany. And so Great Britain starts begging the United States, will y'all join in? Will y'all help us? We need your help. Well, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was in the White House, and what had been happening in America? The Great Depression, economic troubles. It had been rough. And so we've just now got out of this. Now, what Franklin Delano Roosevelt does is he starts letting factories build war supplies. And we would send some war supplies, some planes and some guns and some bullets and things of that nature, ships. They would send supplies to Great Britain, but we did not join in. We sat back and we watched, other than supplying them with some stuff. Great Britain is an island, of course, and Hitler thought, well, how are we going to invade Britain? Because they wanted to attack and defeat Britain, the last standing free nation, so to speak. And they decide, instead of doing it by land, since it's an island, we'll have a blitzkrieg. We'll fly over them and we'll drop bombs on them. You see a picture of it on page 232. German bombers over London's Dockland during the Battle of Britain. It was called the Battle of Britain. It lasted 8 months. 8 months. Now, their leader, Britain's leader, Sir Winston Churchill, he was great. He was one of the great world leaders of all time. And he was adamant that we're going to be victorious. Britain is going to win. And Churchill would get on the radio. He would walk through the streets and he would encourage folks when there was no bombing. Now, I want you to imagine for just a minute how horrible this had to be for the people of Britain. Britain had a subway system, and a lot of people would gather in the subway tunnels underground and listen to bombs drop on top. Or you would sit in your home, get in a basement, and listen to bombs fall all around you. And you hear that, and you don't know if it's going to hit you or not. How scary would that be? It's awful. But anyway, Britain held. The British Air Force was finally able to beat back the Germans. So they did it in airplanes. Unusual. World War I, we had some airplane involvement, but this is where airplanes really become huge in war. The Soviet Union, in the meantime, had signed a 10-year non-aggression pact with Germany in 1939. In other words, we don't attack you, you don't attack us. 1939. Okay? 2 years later, 1941, Germany attacks the Soviet Union. The good thing for the Russians was the cold weather. The Germans' food froze. Their clothing was not thick enough to beat the winter. Trucks and tanks froze up. They wouldn't crank. And the Russians drove Germany out of their country. But listen, fighting in World War II took place on Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Now, this is the last thing I want you to see. I want you to remember these terms, memorize these terms, the Axis powers. And I always think George Bush used the term axis of evil. These were evil countries, so to speak, during this time. The Axis powers, axis of evil, Axis powers. Germany, Italy, and Japan. Those three. And then you had the Allied powers, which at the time was Great Britain and Canada and different Commonwealth nations. It would end up being Great Britain, the United States, China, and other allies joined. Even the Russians would join to fight back the Germans and the Japanese. That kind of covers this unit. I want you to read it, and I want you to do the CompCheck 13B. And submit that in the box just like you did yesterday. You did great. We just need the answers. But I want you to do question number 5. Normally we don't do the thinks. This is on page 232, by the way. And question 5 says, how did the rest of the world react at first to Hitler's aggression in Eastern Europe? And I talked about that. But I want you to put it in your own words. When did the free countries of the world begin to take action? When did people start to wake up? And I want you to just kind of put that in your own words, but do questions 1 through 5. Don't write the question, write the answers, number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Submit that to me, and you will be done with this portion for today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about Pearl Harbor and the end of World War II. And I'm just kind of flipping ahead. This next section is going to take a little longer. It may take 2 days to go through. And then we will finish the chapter probably next Monday or Tuesday. Well, probably Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. And we'll try to have some kind of test next week. Now, of course, test will be open book. So far, I haven't devised a way around it. If we're still online, if we're back in school, we'll have a test that will be closed book. If it is open book, know that it will be a little more difficult because you'll have a book, but you'll have plenty of time to get it done. But hopefully, my goodness, we'll find out hopefully this weekend, and maybe, Lord willing, we'll be back in school next week. We'll see. But hey, we'll make do till then. Y'all have a great day. Praying for y'all. Hope you're praying for me, and we'll see you tomorrow.